Hello students, I am Monica Sharma and the topic which I am going to discuss now is process of communication. Now students, as you know that communication is process of transmitting messages from source to receiver. And every message which is being transmitted has a purpose or objective. Communication is the process of passing information and understanding from one person to another. Now let's understand the process of communication. Now in communication process, a source or encoder of communication sends a message through a channel, and here receiver or decoder is receiving the message and responding by feedback. Now possibilities of communication breakdown also can happen in communication through barriers or noise. So in this whole process, the number of elements which played part is one, sender, second is message, third is channel, fourth is receiver, then feedback, and also I have talked about barriers or noise. Now see this image. The source is called as encoder because he or she is encoding the message, and the receiver here is called as decoder because obviously he or she is decoding the message. Now let's talk about these components of communication in detail. First is sender. Now, as I told you, and as you can see in the image, sender begins the communication process by forming the idea or intention or feeling which he or she is going to transmit. As a sender, you are required to filter out the details which are unimportant. And you should focus your energy on the most relevant part of information. The source will also determine the purpose of the message, which means whether the source wants to inform, persuade, or entertain. Now there may be question coming in your mind how the message gets from source to the receiver. So after generation of idea in mind, the step is encoding or creating the message. Now students, the information that source wishes to convey must put in the form that can be sent to the receiver. The source here generates the message through his or her past experiences, perceptions, thoughts, or feelings. Moving to next component, that is second component of communication process, the message or the information which is being communicated. The source encodes an idea and then determines whether or not to inform, persuade, or entertain. After deciding what message is to be sent, the source uses symbol to get the message across to others. It can be verbal or non-verbal. The most important symbol are words which human being uses to represent, objects, ideas, or feelings. Now students, these words permit us to share our feelings with other members of our species. Important as words are to us, they can be tricky. We must remember that words are symbols, and that too simple usage of words. Moving to next component of communication process, that is channel. Once a message is generated, we use channel to deliver the message. Now students, channel may also be described according to the manner of presentation employed in the communication. The source may speak face to face with the receiver or use public address system to talk with hundreds of listeners, radio, television. Each of these examples would demand different manner of presentation. It all depends on the situation. Now here, source will decide the presentation style, verbal or non-verbal, which channel to be used. Now, for example, if the speaker is using radio, physical appearance wouldn't matter. But if he or she is performing on cable network, then obviously here personal appearance, physical appearance has importance because it can influence the reception of message. More examples, when we go to watch a circus, we expect the clowns to have painted faces and appropriate costumes. If they were dressed in a regular street clothes, their performance wouldn't be that much of effective. Whatever channel of communication are used, the source must learn to adopt the messages to make use of most important channels available for the situation. Now moving to the next component, that is the receiver or decoder. Now who is receiver or decoder? He or she is the person or persons who receives the message. Now the act of interpreting messages is called as decoding. Students, receivers decode the messages based on past experiences, perceptions, thoughts and feelings. So students, we receive messages through our senses, and those senses you already know: hearing, seeing, smelling, tasting, touching. But most often we decode messages by listening and seeing through our eyes. The next component is feedback. Now what is feedback? It is when receiver is reacting or sending messages back to the sender. Feedback tells the source how receiver has interpreted the message which is sent by the source. Now let's take an example, students. If you're at airport and you ask your departing friend about his itinerary and he replies to you that he didn't pack one, now you know that your message has not been understood. Your receiver do not know the meaning of this word. This kind of feedback which conveys lack of understanding is known as negative feedback. A positive feedback, on the other hand, indicates that the receiver has understood the source's message. It does not necessarily mean that he or she agrees with the source, just that the message was interpreted accurately. Now students, feedback can also be ambiguous. Now what does ambiguous means? Feedback is not clearly positive or negative. Now examples for this: you hear your friends replying, I see, These are ambiguous examples. Moving to the next component of communication process, that is barriers or noise. Now let's compare human communication system with a radio or television circuit. Just like in radio transmissions where distortion can occur at any point along the circuit or channel, in human communication also the noise or barriers can occur. Now how? When information which is sent by the source is insufficient or unclear, or if the message is ineffectively or inaccurately encoded, or when the message is sent by a wrong channel, or the other reason can be if the message is not decoded in a similar way it was encoded. It can be a lingo barrier also. So anywhere these barriers comes in the process of communication, the message is not delivered correctly. So students, this is all about process of communication. I hope you have liked the video. Goodbye for now.